I thought I was texting my best friend when I sent that photo in lingerie with the message "wanna sleep." Then I realized I'd sent it to Nathan, my stepbrother, who I hadn't spoken to in 4 years. Before I could delete it, he replied instantly, "Address." When I saw those two words pop up in our chat. After 4 years of silence, brief yet commanding, I completely froze. Ashley and I always messed around in our conversations. No filter whatsoever. I just landed my first lead role in a new production, and the crew was treating me pretty well. The hotel suite they'd arranged was huge. Fresh out of the shower, I was wearing the sexy nightgown Ashley had sent me as a prank gift. I thought I'd snap a photo to send her. Who would have thought I'd accidentally send it to Nathan, who'd been pinned to the top of my contacts all this time? Nathan and I hadn't been in touch for ages. Not since my mom divorced his dad. I thought he would have deleted my number by now. Never expected him to reply in seconds. Some deep-rooted memory made me obediently send him my location. After hitting send, reality kicked in, and I panicked. Would Nathan really come? I paced around for a bit, then remembered I was in Vancouver filming. What was I worried about? How could he possibly show up here? With that thought, I relaxed and went to bed in the middle of the night. My phone rang. Half asleep, I answered. That familiar cold voice came through. "Open the door." My mind snapped awake. "Ethan, I mean a bro." There seemed to be a soft laugh on the other end. Before I could figure out if I'd imagined it, his serious voice returned. "I'm at your door. Open up." Now I was completely awake. I jumped out of bed, didn't even put on slippers, and rushed to open the door. November weather. The man at my door stood there, in a black coat that emphasized his tall, lean frame. A wave of cool detachment hit me. I couldn't help but shiver. His gaze landed somewhere on me, paused, then turned dark and intense. "Bro, what are you doing here? Didn't you invite me?" I was mortified. "Art. Wrong person. So, who are you trying to send it to?" His eyes narrowed, his presence suddenly turning icy. "Boyfriend." I felt inexplicably pressured and rushed to explain. "No, Ashley Parker. You know her. You're still in touch with her. What's wrong?" He frowned, clearly annoyed about my best friend, right? He never liked Ashley back in high school. He looked down and suddenly frowned. "Why aren't you wearing shoes?" I hurried back to put on slippers. When I turned around, he'd already closed the door and come in, shutting out the cold. As seeing him approach, I got nervous. "Bro, why are you in Canada? To work? Where are you staying tonight? Didn't you want me to sleep with you?" "You." I gave a bitter smile. "You know I sent it by mistake. Lily." When he used my full name, I got scared. Back in high school, whenever I did something he disapproved of, he'd call me by my full name. "We haven't been in contact for 4 years, right?" "Yeah." "So, how exactly did you send it to the wrong person?" His gaze was intense. "Did you do it on purpose?" "No." "You have me pinned." I lowered my head even more. A soft laugh came from above, his tone certain. "Why do you have me pinned?" He suddenly pressed closer, his questioning almost aggressive. I instinctively backed away, accidentally hit the bed frame, and lost my balance. Nathan reached out to catch me, but somehow failed. We both tumbled onto the soft bedding. His hand landed in a very awkward place. I felt his hand seem to move slightly against my chest. My face burned red. This nightgown was extremely thin, and I wasn't wearing a bra. "Pervert, get up." I pushed him away, but he pinned me down instead. "You already called me a pervert. Wouldn't it be a waste not to live up to the title?" His tone was teasing, his gaze lazy. I stared at him in disbelief. 4 years apart, and the always proper, coldly distant man now spoke such words so casually. "Bro, is it really you? Who's your bro?" His fingers caught a certain point and tugged. A current shot through my entire body, and I froze. He stared at me intently. "Would your brother do this to you?" That look contained so many emotions that I couldn't make a sound. And I remembered the past. Nathan and I became step-siblings when I was a freshman in high school. My mom had remarried many times throughout her life, but this was the first time she'd married into such a good family. The Winters were old money, and I still don't understand what Nathan's dad saw in my mom. Was it her looks? Whatever the reason, it didn't matter. I knew my mom, given her track record, she'd probably get divorced again eventually. So, from the moment I entered the Winter mansion, I never planned to build relationships with any of them, never used a cent of their money either. Throughout high school, I made money running errands for Ashley. I lived in the Winter house, with the intention of keeping my distance from everyone. But Nathan kept disrupting my plans. For some reason, he paid a lot of attention to me. It was his upbringing that prevented him from ignoring his sister, even one with no blood relation. He'd tirelessly help me with homework, drive me to and from school. He wouldn't let me fool around, or let any sketchy people get close to me. knowing I was forgetful and scatterbrained. His backpack always had things I might need. He seemed to really see himself as my brother. Just when I was getting used to accepting him as my brother, I suddenly discovered he wasn't what I thought. Senior year, Ashley asked me to pursue her nemesis, our school's top liberal arts student, Mason Chen. When Nathan found out, he thought I was dating and got really angry. For the first time, he lectured me severely. He told me to stay away from Mason. But the next day, I was dating Mason in the woods. When he found out, he coldly reported us to the teacher. That day, Mason got caught, and Nathan took advantage of the chaos to drag me away. I tried to struggle, but he suddenly pressed me against a tree lily. You really like him that much? Heavy breathing approached thick and hot, clearly suppressing anger. I lowered my head, quickly admitting fault. The slender hands on my neck caressed rest and finally withdrew. After a long time, that was the first time I suspected there might be another unknown side beneath his gentle rapid exterior. The real confirmation came later, when Ashley asked me to buy condoms to prank Mason unexpectedly. That sly fox, Mason noticed when I got home. I found the condoms I'd put in Mason's backpack had ended up in mine. And unfortunately, Nathan saw them. His cold, distant gaze changed instantly. He pulled me to his room and pressed me onto the bed. Why do you have these? Where did you learn about this, or did someone give them to you? A series of sharp, oppressive questions left me speechless with fear. Mason?
No.
I panicked. I bought them myself. I was just curious. That curious bro. Who's your bro? His gaze was dark. Suddenly, he opened the condom package right in front of me. Have you tried it? Tried what? My mind was still blank when he spoke again. Since you're so curious as your brother, I don't mind personally demonstrating how to use it. The air in the hotel suite seemed to vanish, sucked into the vacuum of Nathan's dark, predatory gaze. The condom packet crinkled in his hand, a sharp, plastic sound that echoed louder than thunder in the quiet room. Nathan, I choked out, my voice trembling. Don't be crazy. You're my brother. Stepbrother, he corrected, his voice low and raspy. And considering our parents signed their divorce papers 4 years ago, I'm legally nothing to you. Just a man in your room. A man you invited. He leaned down. I squeezed my eyes shut, expecting the worst, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. But the assault didn't come. Instead, I felt the ghost of a touch, his thumb brushing my lower lip, tracing the tremble there. Open your eyes, Lily. I obeyed. He wasn't looking at me with lust anymore, but with a terrifyingly calm challenge. He tossed the unopened packet onto the bedside table. It landed with a soft thud. I'm not that desperate, he said, his tone cooling, retreating back into that aristocratic detachment that always made me feel small. He pushed himself off me, standing up and buttoning his coat with fluid, precise movements. And you're not ready. You're shaking. I gasped for air, scrambling backward until my back hit the headboard. You tricked me. I tested you, he said, looking down at me. And you failed. If I were any other man, if I were that idiot Mason, you'd be in trouble right now. Do you have zero instinct for self-preservation? I thought I was texting Ashley, I yelled, humiliated tears pricking my eyes. And I thought you were in New York. Why are you even here? Nathan walked to the window, staring out at the Vancouver skyline. The city lights reflected in the glass, making him look like a phantom. I'm the majority shareholder for Silver Horizon, he said simply. My jaw dropped. Silver Horizon was the production I was starring in. You're the mysterious investor from Tenebris Capital? I wanted to see if the lead actress was worth the investment. He turned back, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. Imagine my surprise when she sends me her room number and a request for sex before I even land. It wasn't a request for sex. It was a joke. Go to sleep, Lily, he commanded, moving toward the door. We have a meeting with the director at 8 a.m. Don't be late. He opened the door, then paused. And locked the door behind me. Or the next man who walks in might not be as restrained as I am. The door clicked shut. I sat in the darkness, pulling the duvet up to my chin, my body still humming with the electric shock of his weight on top of me. The next morning on set was a nightmare masked as a professional engagement. Everyone was on edge. The director, a usually boisterous man named Greg, was sweating through his baseball cap. When I walked into the conference room, coffee in hand, I saw why. Nathan sat at the head of the table. He was wearing a charcoal 3-piece suit that cost more than my entire year's salary. He didn't look up when I entered, continuing to read a script file, but I saw his finger pause on the page.
Ah, Lily.
Right on time. Greg laughed nervously. Mr. Winter was just reviewing the dailies. I took the seat furthest from him. Mr. Winter, I acknowledged, keeping my voice steady. Nathan finally looked up. In the harsh fluorescent light, he looked tired, shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there 4 years ago. But his gaze was just as sharp. "Miss Evans," he said. The formality stung. "Your performance in the second act lacks nuance. You're playing a seductress, not a high school girl." The room went silent. "I'm doing exactly what the script calls for," I shot back, my defensive instincts flaring. "Then the script is wrong," Nathan said, closing the file. "Or the actress doesn't understand the nature of desire." His eyes locked onto mine. I knew exactly what he was doing. He was referencing last night. "You don't know what you're doing." "I can take direction," I said through gritted teeth. "Good." He stood up. "Because I'll be observing production for the next 2 weeks. I expect improvements." For the next week, Nathan was everywhere. He sat behind the monitors, silent and brooding. He critiqued the lighting. He critiqued the dialogue. But mostly, he watched me. It was psychological torture. Every time I had to do a romantic scene with my co-star, Julian, a handsome, harmless guy who played my love interest, I could feel the temperature in the room drop. On Friday, we were filming a kissing scene. It was simple. Julian leans in, I grab his lapels, we kiss in the rain. Cut. Greg yelled. "Lily, you're stiff. Relax into it." We went for take 2.
Julian's lips touched mine.
I tried to focus, but all I could see in my peripheral vision was Nathan, standing by the craft services table, snapping a plastic stirrer in half. Cut. Take 5, everyone, Greg sighed. I grabbed a towel and stormed over to Nathan. "You're ruining this." "I haven't said a word," he replied calmly, handing me a bottle of water. He'd already unscrewed the cap, a habit from high school he evidently hadn't forgotten. "Your aura is ruining this," I hissed, ignoring the water. "Why do you care? You ignored me for 4 years. For years, Nathan. No calls, no texts. Even when Mom got sick last year, you sent flowers but you didn't come. Why now?" Nathan's expression hardened. He grabbed my wrist, not painful, but firm, and pulled me behind the equipment truck, out of sight of the crew. "You think I stayed away because I didn't care?" he asked, his voice low and dangerous. "I think you stayed away because you were ashamed of us. Of me." He laughed, a bitter, jagged sound. "Ashamed? Lily, I stayed away because the day my father signed those divorce papers, I realized I was no longer legally your brother. And if I stayed in that house, seeing you every day, sleeping down the hall from you, I would have done something that would have made you hate me." My breath hitched. "What are you talking about?" "I moved to New York. I buried myself in work. I pinned your contact to the top of my phone and stared at it every night, daring myself to delete it, but I never could. I waited." "Waited for what?" "For you to grow up. For you to stop seeing me as the guy who helps you with your homework and start seeing me as a man." He stepped closer, boxing me against the truck. "And then you sent me a picture in that nightgown, asking to sleep with me. Do you have any idea how much self-control it took not to tear that door down the second I arrived?" "I didn't mean to send it to you," I whispered, my resolve crumbling. "I know," he murmured, leaning down until his lips brushed my ear. "But you did. And now that I'm here, I'm not leaving until I get an answer." "What answer?" "Whether you felt it too. The pull. Even back then. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to push him away. But the memory of him fighting Mason, the way he always protected me, the way my heart raced whenever he looked at me, it all came rushing back. I don't know," I lied. "Liar," he whispered. He pulled back, his eyes searching mine. "Dinner. Tonight. My sweet. And wear shoes this time." We didn't make it to dinner. That afternoon, the paparazzi photos leaked. Not of me and Nathan, but of me and Julian. A tabloid had snapped a picture of our rehearsal kiss from a misleading angle, with the headline, "New starlet Lily Evans sleeping her way to the top?" It was standard industry trash, but the comments were vicious. I sat in my trailer, scrolling through Twitter, feeling sick. Suddenly, the trailer door swung open. Nathan stormed in, looking furious. He slammed a tablet onto the table. "Who took this?" he demanded. "I don't know. It's just a gossip rag, Nathan. It happens. It impacts the film's reputation," he said coldly. "And yours. Why do you care about my reputation? You just want the film to make money." He stopped pacing and looked at me, his expression unreadable. "I am buying the publication." "What?" "I'm buying the magazine. And I'm firing the photographer. And I'm issuing a retraction." "You can't just buy a magazine because you're jealous. Watch me." He pulled out his phone and made a call. Within 3 minutes, he had authorized a hostile takeover of a mid-tier media conglomerate. I watched him, terrified and aroused in equal measure. This was the world he lived in, a world of absolute power. When he hung up, he looked at me. "It's handled." "You're insane," I said softly.
"I'm protective."
He sat down on the small sofa next to me. The anger drained out of him, leaving him looking vulnerable for the first time. "Lily, when your mom left my dad, it wasn't because she found someone else." I blinked.
What?
She told me she fell in love with an artist. She lied. My father, he's a difficult man. He made her sign an NDA. He threatened to cut you both off without a penny if she didn't leave. He thought her background was affecting the Winter family image.
I said frozen.
She left to protect me? She left because he gave her an ultimatum: stay and be miserable, or leave and get enough money to ensure Lily never has to struggle again. Nathan took my hand. I found out a week after you guys moved out. I fought him. I told him he was a monster. He told me if I contacted you, he'd sue your mother for breach of contract and take back every cent. Tears streamed down my face. So that's why you ghosted me. To protect Mom's money. To protect you, he corrected. I needed 4 years to build my own capital, to separate my assets from his. Tenebris capital is mine. He can't touch me, and he can't touch you anymore. I'm free, Lily. And so are you. The silence stretched between us, heavy with 4 years of misunderstanding. He hadn't abandoned me. He had been building a fortress so we could be safe. Why didn't you tell me? I couldn't risk it. Until yesterday.
He squeezed my hand.
When that photo came through, I realized I was done waiting. I have enough money to buy this whole city if I have to. I'm not letting my father, or distance, or propriety keep me away from you anymore. He looked at my lips. Now, are you going to kick me out, or are we going to finish what we started last night? I didn't kick him out. I grabbed the lapels of his expensive suit and pulled him crashing down onto the narrow trailer couch. When he kissed me, it wasn't tentative like the night before. It was starving, desperate, a release of 4 years of pent-up longing. The happiness lasted exactly 3 days. On Tuesday, Nathan's father, Richard Winter, arrived in Vancouver. I was in Nathan's hotel suite. I had essentially moved in when the door opened. I expected room service. Instead, a silver-haired version of Nathan stood there, leaning on a cane that looked like a weapon. So, Richard sneered, looking me up and down. The apple doesn't fall far from the gold-digging tree. Get out, I said, my voice shaking but loud. Where's my son? I'm right here. Nathan stepped out of the bedroom. He was shirtless, a towel around his waist, water dripping from his hair. He didn't look embarrassed. He looked lethal. I see, Richard said, his lip curling in disgust. You've been busy. Playing house with your stepsister. It's perverse, Nathan. She's not my sister, Nathan said, walking over to stand in front of me, shielding me from his father's gaze. And you have no business here. I have business everywhere. If you continue this charade, I will pull the family trust. I will crush this production. I will make sure this girl never works in Hollywood again. Try it, Nathan said. I'm not the boy you bullied 4 years ago. I have the board support. You're a tired, old man. Go play golf. Richard turned purple. You'd throw away your legacy for her? She is my legacy, Nathan said calmly. Richard left, but not before promising war. And war is what we got. The next day, the funding for Silver Horizon was frozen. The bank, pressured by the Winter family connections, pulled the loan. The crew was sent home. The production was dead in the water. I sat in the empty studio, crying. I ruined it. I ruined everything. Your career, my movie. Nathan sat beside me on the floor. He wasn't panicking. He was typing furiously on his phone. You didn't ruin anything, he muttered. Give me 10 minutes. Nathan, it's over.
He won.
Nathan stopped typing. He turned to me, took my face in his hands and smiled, a genuine, roguish smile I hadn't seen since we were teenagers. Lily, do you remember when you asked me to help you cheat on your math final?
What?
Yes, but... And I told you that you don't need to cheat if you change the variables? He turned his phone screen toward me. It was a press release, drafted and ready to send. Headline: Tenebris Capital acquires controlling stake in Winter Corp. What does this mean? I asked, confused. It means while my father was flying here to yell at us, I had my partners in New York execute a buyout of his majority shares. He was too busy being angry to watch the market. Nathan kissed my forehead. I didn't just save the movie, Lily. I bought his company. He works for me now. 6 months later, the red carpet flashed with blinding lights. I adjusted the strap of my gown, a deep emerald silk that matched Nathan's tie. Nervous? He whispered, his arm heavy and warm around my waist. A little, I admitted. Don't be. You're the star. The reporter thrust a microphone in our faces. Lily. Nathan. There are rumors about an engagement. Is it true? Nathan looked at me, raising an eyebrow. We hadn't announced anything. We were just us. Living together, working together, making up for lost time. He leaned into the mic. I can't confirm rumors, he said smoothly. But I can confirm that I've been pinning her to the top of my contacts for 5 years, and I don't plan on unpinning her anytime soon. The crowd laughed. I blushed, hitting his arm playfully. Pervert, I whispered, for his ears only. Brat, he whispered back, his hand tightening possessively on my hip. As we walked into the theater to watch the movie that almost didn't happen, I looked at him. My stepbrother, my nemesis, my savior, my love. By the way, he murmured as the lights went down. You still owe me. Owe you what? You never did put on that lingerie again. I smiled in the darkness. Maybe later. If you behave. I never behave, he promised. And as the screen lit up with my face, I knew that for the first time in my life, the drama on screen was nothing compared to the romance of my real life. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.